Galactic soldiers mocked Earth's old rifles, until they faced a .50 BMG machine gun. The Xerix came down like a tidal wave of gods, faceless giants wrapped in black obsidian armor, each carrying weapons that whispered in ultraviolet, burst bones into powder, and laced the skies with orbital fire. Humanity folded in hours. World capitals kneeled. Earth's orbital fleet vaporized in the first wave. Every military AI system was fried by Xerix kill code, and any resistance relying on tech was instantly erased. Except for Fort Grayson. It sat buried in the northern Alaskan wastes, a forgotten relic, mothballed and stripped decades ago when the Defense Union turned digital. No automated turrets. No smart mines. Just rust, wind, and dust-covered crates. The Dominion scanned it once, saw analog weapons and no satellites, and moved on. An irrelevant blip. They didn't realize it was occupied. Ashvale, 22, eyeliner smeared under tired green eyes, sat cross-legged beside a disassembled .50 BMG machine gun. The Barrett M2HB was older than his grandfather's bones. Most people wouldn't even know how to clean the thing, but Ash had grown up rebuilding museum pieces just for fun. This gun. It wasn't history. It was home. You finished cuddling that thing. River called from the trench line, his voice sharp and sarcastic, steam rising from his bare shoulders. His jacket was wrapped around a frozen corpse they'd buried that morning. Because the wrecking drone just went dark, and I'm guessing that's not a weather issue. Ash stood, slid the bolt into place with practiced ease, then gave the top feed a loving slap. It's not cuddling, he said. It's bonding. You keep treating your M60 like an ex you want to forget. That's why she jams every third round. Jace dropped into the snow beside them, breathing hard, his cheeks flushed red. Twinkling and twitchy, with a scout's build and a sniper's instincts, he shook snow off his shoulders and hissed, contact confirmed. Xerix detachment inbound. Foot soldiers, 10 clicks. Dropship spooling 2 behind them. Ash's lips barely moved. How many? Too many. The wind howled through broken barracks and shattered steel. The only warmth was the shared breath between them and the occasional slug of ancient whiskey from a dented canteen. Fort Grayson's defense force numbered 6. 6 unregistered humans, all either rejected from Earth's corporate armies or too unstable for interplanetary deployment. What the world called useless, this wasteland called necessary. The Xerix didn't come to negotiate. They didn't announce themselves with words or flashing lights. They marched in formation over frozen tundra, their armor glowing with pulsing crimson veins, weapons forged from technologies Earth scientists would study for generations, assuming anyone lived to do so. Ash watched them through a rusted periscope. Big boys. 10 feet at least. Jace flicked his cigarette into the snow. They look like a BDSM-themed insect cult. Sexy, River muttered. Then the lead Xerix, a brute with 3 shoulder-mounted cannons and a faceplate shaped like a blade, stepped forward. He raised his left arm. From the forearm projector, an artificial voice crackled out in slow, condescending English. Surrender relic outpost. Drop primitive arms. Await extraction and processing. The Twinks didn't move. Didn't flinch. Ash stood atop the battlement, M2HB slung at his side, and shouted back. Relic? Bro, you realize this thing fires a round bigger than your skull, right? The Xerix tilted its head. Antique. Inefficient. Symbolic weaponry. Decorative. Your species is obsolete. Ash grinned wide. Say that again after I punch a hole through your chest the size of a basketball. The Xerix commander didn't even raise his weapon. He turned and gestured. The order was clear. Kill them. Ash vaulted down from the battlement. They're coming. Jace pulled his scoped Winchester off the wall. Ready. River yanked the feed belt through his M60 and stood up, bare arms flexing. Let's get decorative. Asterisk asterisk. The snow cracked with the weight of advancing boots. Plasma cut through the air in neon arcs, slicing through the outer perimeter. The old defenses, barbed wire, sandbags, wooden watchposts, burned instantly. But the Xerix didn't realize they were stepping into a graveyard designed for gods. Ash dropped behind the M2HB, braced it on its tripod, and pulled the bolt back. Chink. Chunk. Ready. He waited until they were close enough to smell, until their armor was gleaming with frost and arrogance, until the first one raised its wrist cannon toward the trench. Then he pulled the trigger. Thud, 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 thud. The .50 BMG screamed like thunder gods waking from sleep. The lead Xerx's chest imploded, armor shattering like glass. A geyser of violet blood sprayed into the wind as the body tumbled backward, smoking. Ash swung the barrel, found another, and pulled again. Thud, thud, thud. Shoulder gone. Headless. Limbs blown sideways like they were paper dolls caught in a hurricane. River opened up with the M60, bullets stitching the snow like sewing needles of death. Jace dropped one with a perfect spine shot from 200 yards. The Xerx faltered, just for a moment, realizing their advantage had crumbled. These weren't terrified humans begging for mercy. These were grinning devils in eyeliner and old jackets, behind walls lined with steel monsters from another century. Ash reloaded with mechanical precision, steam rising from the gun barrel like smoke from a dragon's breath. "Come on, you shiny bastards," he muttered. "Mock this." One Xerx leapt high, plasma blade drawn, aiming to land in the trench and gut Ash mid-reload. It never got there. Jace dropped it mid-E with a shot that bisected its helmet. Another advanced low and fast, firing bursts that melted ice and kicked up fire. River caught it mid-charge, unloading half a belt into its torso until it fell twitching. Ash turned to see one last giant lumbering toward them. Still moving. Still trying. He pulled the trigger. The final burst spat fire and lead. Thud, 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 thud. The Xerx exploded. Asterisk, asterisk. Silence. The snow hissed. Bodies steamed as heat bled from alien corpses into the cold earth. Ash leaned back, breathing hard, chest rising and falling. The M2HB smoked like a dragon's maw. His lips split into a tired grin. Jace lit another cigarette with a shaking hand. "You think they'll send more?" Ash nodded slowly. "They have to. That was just reckon." River sat down hard on a frozen crate, pressing gauze to a burn on his arm. "Then next time, let's really show 'em what antique means." Ash's fingers danced across the M2HB, caressing the barrel like it was a lover. "Next time," he said softly, "we give them a war they'll never forget." Above them, the clouds churned, dark with oncoming snow and smoke from Xerx wreckage. Fort Grayson, the last analog fortress of Earth, stood tall in defiance. Beneath it, three pretty, deadly bastards cleaned their old weapons and grinned into the storm. Because the Xerx had made one fatal mistake. They underestimated a gun designed to kill gods. And the twinks reckless enough to wield it. Galactic soldiers mocked Earth's old rifles, until they faced a .50 BMG machine gun. They came back at sundown. The Xerx commander's body still smoldered on the ridge, split in half by the last burst from Ash's .50 cal. But the Dominion never retreated forever. They didn't grieve their dead. They didn't hold ceremonies. They just escalated. Ash stood at the top of the trench, snow coating his jacket, watching the horizon through a battered pair of World War II binocles. The sky had gone purple with frost clouds, and beneath it, distant movement. Too smooth to be wind. Too silent to be birds. They were coming again. "Eyes up," Ash said flatly. "They are making another pass." "Great," River muttered, loading fresh brass into his M60 with blooded fingers. "Guess they didn't like the welcoming committee." Jace crouched behind a collapsed turret mount, scanning with his bolt action. "They are not charging this time. They are crawling." Crawling. Ash lowered the binocles. "Xerx don't crawl." Jace zoomed in. His eyes narrowed. "Not them. They're pets." The first wave of plasma hounds breached the tree line 3 minutes later. 8-legged freaks wrapped in synthetic muscle and plated bone. Their mouths opened in 4 directions. Screams like tortured engines filled the dusk. Ash braced a .50 cal. "Load hot. This isn't Reckon anymore. This is payback." Asterisk, asterisk. The trench shook as the hounds hit the front line. Jace dropped the lead one with a cold steel slug through the eye socket. It kept crawling. A second shot blew its lower jaw off. Ash raked the M2HB side to side, turning the ice pack slope into a blood-slick blender. Violet gore steamed on contact. One hound leapt over the barricade, and River met it mid-E with the M60 roaring, blasting its spine into slush. But for every one they dropped, 3 more came. They swarmed low and fast, ducking the arc of fire. One made it into the trench, jaws wide, and clamped onto River's leg. His scream cut sharp through the night. Ash didn't hesitate. He pulled his sidearm, an old Colt revolver, and planted 2 rounds into the beast's skull. River kicked the cops off and yelled, "I'm good." Blood poured from his thigh, but he stayed on the gun. No hesitation. No retreat. Jace disappeared from view. Ash caught a glimpse. He climbed onto a steel crate, firing down with perfect precision. The bolt action cracked like thunder, every shot a poem of murder. The hounds backed off, for a second. Then the Xerix soldiers arrived. They marched through the tree line like machines of war, each one 600 pounds of plated muscle, wielding plasma rifles the size of coffins. Their stride was methodical, calculated, inevitable. Ash reloaded the Barrett, slapped the top of the belt. Let's see how well those suits hold up under a 100-year-old tantrum. The .50 cal spat again. One Xerix's chest exploded backward, crashing into his squadmates. Ash shifted aim, dropped another. A third. But they were still coming, stepping over the twitching bodies like it didn't matter. One of them aimed a plasma cannon at the M2HB nest. Down. Ash shouted. The blast hit a meter wide, evaporating part of the wall in a blinding flare. The trench rocked. River was thrown back against the sandbags. His M60 skidded into the snow. Jace didn't stop. He vaulted forward, grabbed River's weapon mid-sprint, and rolled into the wrecked flank, spraying rounds like a demon. Bullets tore through 3 Xerix, shattering visors and exposing the wet, purple meat underneath. Ash spat blood, dragged himself up. The M2HB was still intact, barrel glowing, ammo hot. He racked the slide. Not done yet. Asterisk asterisk. They fought for 17 minutes straight. Ammo belts ran low. One side trench was gone, vaporized by an artillery pulse. Jace had a knife in one hand and a broken rifle in the other, slashing and bashing anything that got close. River's leg was bad. Too much blood. But he rigged a tourniquet and taped a grenade to his chest. "If they breach the core, I take us both out," he said, grinning through clenched teeth. Ash didn't argue. Above them, the Xerix dropship hovered behind a ridge. A massive vertical carrier, dark as pitch, rumbling like an earthquake in orbit. They weren't here to fight anymore. They were here to erase. Then a different kind of Xerix dropped into the clearing. Bulkier. Sleeker. This one had red glowing runes along its armor. Twin plasma blades crackled at its sides. Ash froze. Shit. They've sent an elite. The Xerix elite moved with terrifying grace, dodging gunfire, carving trenches into the ground with its steps. It leapt 30 feet in a blur and landed inside the trench. Ash fired point blank. Thud, thud, thud. The .50 cal rounds hit, but the armor held. The elite staggered, then straightened, helmet humming. Ash dropped the gun and reached for his knife. Too slow. The elite surged forward. Jace threw himself in the way, shoulder-checking the Xerix. It grabbed him by the throat and slammed him into the ground. Hard. Bones cracked. Ash tackled it from behind. He pulled the elite's power core cable and yanked. The armor spasmed. Ash punched the side of its helmet over and over, denting the alloy. Then River limped up, screaming, and shoved a live grenade into the elite's hip joint. Ash grabbed Jace and Dove. The elite detonated. The trench filled with fire and shattered armor, and Xerix screams. Asterisk asterisk. They lay there, gasping. Jace blinked up at the snow. His voice was weak. "You tackle like a linebacker." Ash laughed, blood in his teeth. "You're just like." River coughed. "How the hell are we still alive?" Ash sat up slowly. The air reeked of ionized blood and gunpowder. "I don't think they expected us to hold." Jace sat up, half his face covered in blood. "They sent scouts first, then hounds, then infantry, then an elite." River groaned, holding his ribs. "What's next?" "A goddamn tank." Ash didn't answer, because he was staring at the sky. The Xerix dropship had ascended. A larger shadow descended from its underbelly. 4 legs. Rotating turrets. A glowing fusion cannon under the neck. It hit the earth with a seismic thud. Ash whispered, "They sent a goddamn tank." Asterisk asterisk. Silence in the trench. Snow fell in thick flakes, turning violet with the blood in the wind. Jace slid another clip into his rifle, though it had a crack running down the barrel. River grabbed a flare and jammed it into his belt. Ash looked at the .50 BMG. Barrel scorched. Feed nearly empty, but still ready. Next wave's our last, he said quietly. Jace nodded. River laughed. We'll go out prettier than they ever did. Ash smiled. That's what matters. The Zerix Woolwalker began its march toward them. The snowline cracked under its weight, and 3 twinks, bloody and broken, stood to face it. Galactic soldiers mocked Earth's old rifles until they faced the .50 BMG machine gun. The Zerix Woolwalker took its first step over the ridge, and the earth shivered. 4 legs, each plated with jet black armor, stamped into the frozen ground like it was ash. Each step released a concussive wave. The head was a sloped battering ram with a cannon hanging beneath it, the kind that could melt a city block in seconds. Dozens of sensor arrays glowed crimson, scanning for heat, motion, life. Inside the trench, Ash stared up at it, lips dry, blood smeared across his cheek. That thing's got armor thicker than a carrier's hull. River limped to the back wall, holding his shattered ribs. I don't think the M60's gonna do much against a walking apocalypse. Jace said nothing. He was already digging into the emergency crate, the one sealed with 4 rusted locks and a warning label older than any of them. Restricted, Legacy Ordnance. With shaking hands, he yanked it open. Inside was a beast of another era. The M107A 1.50 BMG antimaterial sniper rifle, twin to the M2HB Ash had been using, but designed to punch holes through tanks at half a mile. Ash's eyes widened. I thought that was just a museum prop. Jace's voice was flat, low, deadly. Not anymore. Asterisk asterisk. The Woolwalker fired. A fusion shell detonated 30 meters to their left, instantly turning snow, dirt, and metal into radioactive vapor. The heat wave knocked all 3 of them to the ground. Ash scrambled up, ears ringing, vision shaking. The trench had been carved in half. River was coughing blood. A chunk of shrapnel had pierced his side. Jace didn't flinch. He braced the M107 against a collapsed wall, snapped open the bipod, and locked in the round. One single tungsten penetrator, BMG slug. Ash slid beside him, feeding him the second magazine. You get 1 shot before it targets us. Jace nodded. Then I'll make it count. The Woolwalker took another step. Its sensors locked on. The cannon began to charge, a pulsing hum that grew in intensity, glowing brighter every second. Jace exhaled slowly. Time dilated. His finger hovered above the trigger. Wind. Breath. Stillness. He fired. The shot sounded like the sky tearing in half. The bullet didn't just hit the walker, it punched through. Right between the primary sensor array, down through the core targeting computer, and out the other side. The Woolwalker took 1 more step, then twitched. Glitched. Paused. Its cannon's charge blinked off. Then the entire machine collapsed sideways, smashing into the slope in a crumpled mess of smoke and broken legs. Ash stared, stunned. Holy shit. River laughed through blooded teeth. He made it count. Jace didn't even smile. He just chambered the next round. More coming. Asterisk asterisk. And they were. The Zerix didn't retreat. They adapted. Behind the fallen walker, 2 more drop ships approached. Smaller, faster. Deploying exosuits and strikers, Zerix light-class kill squads designed to mop up resistance. Ash looked to the skies. He had maybe 10 seconds before the next wave landed. They had no armor, no tanks, no backup. Just 3 broken boys, 6 crates of analog ammo, and fury that could burn a god's heart. So they got to work. Ash dragged the M2HB to the highest point of the trench, propped it with a half-frozen sandbag, and fed the last belt of ammunition. The barrel was scorched, near melting. The feed was cracked. He kissed the receiver. 1 more ride, baby. Jace climbed into the sniper perch and kept the M107 at the ready. He had 4 rounds left. 4 kill shots. River. He limped toward the corpses of the Zerix infantry and ripped one of their plasma rifles out of a dead hand. He turned to Ash, eyebrows raised. I have no idea how to use this. Just point and scream, Ash said. That's what they did to us. Asterisk asterisk. The drop pods landed like artillery, smashing into the ground with explosive force. Doors blew open. Zurich strikers emerged. Sleek armor, jetpacks, twin arm blades glowing white-hot. No mercy units. Designed to kill in seconds. Ash opened up first. The M2HB roared again, sending a wall of death downrange. Thud, 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 thud. A striker took 3 rounds and crumpled. Another tried to fly. Ash tracked it mid-air and tore it in half. Jace followed up with surgical precision. 1 round, a striker's head exploded like fruit. River leaned over the trench, screamed, and fired the stolen plasma rifle. A white-hot beam seared through 2 advancing enemies, vaporizing the midstep. The trench held for 3 minutes. Then the strikers reached the edge. One dropped into the trench, twin blades slicing. Ash caught it with the sidearm, 2 shots to the throat. River tackled a second, stabbing it in the face with its own blade. Jace clubbed a third with the M107 stock, then put a bullet through its chest. They fought hand to hand. Bone, steel, teeth. Grunting, bleeding, swearing. The snow soaked up the chaos, steaming with fresh death. And when the last striker fell, choking on its own alien blood, there was silence. Asterisk asterisk. Ash collapsed against the wall. Smoke curled from the M2HB. Empty, he muttered. She's done. River sat down, face pale. I think my spleen's outside my body. Jace slid into the trench, still holding the M107. 1 dropship left. Ash looked up. It hovered silently. No troops emerging. No weapons deployed. Just watching. Then a single figure stepped out. No armor. No helmet. No weapons. A Xerix in ceremonial robes. Tall, pale-skinned, black veins glowing beneath glossy flesh. Eyes like molten gold. It walked slowly toward the trench. Ash blinked. Is that a priest? Jace shook his head. That's not a priest. The figure stopped 10 meters from them. Then it spoke. You are not gods. You are not chosen. You are filth in the snow. Yet you stand. Why? Ash wiped blood from his mouth. Stood. Laughed. Because twinks don't run, he said, voice cracking. We reload. The Xerix being tilted its head. You have killed many, but you cannot win. River raised a middle finger. I'm not trying to win. I'm trying to piss you off so bad you never come back. The being extended its hand. Swear fealty. Live as broken pets. Ash raised the Colt. The revolver only had 1 round left. He didn't hesitate. Go to hell. Bang. The bullet hit dead center. The Xerix staggered, just for a moment, then raised a hand glowing with pure energy. Ash stared it down, knowing this was the end. Then Jace stepped forward, last M107 round chambered. No gods. He fired. No more Xerix. The blast tore the being in half. Its top half hit the ground 5 meters back. The rest burst into flame, glowing with collapsing energy. The dropship rose. Paused. Then turned. Retreated. Asterisk asterisk. Ash dropped the revolver. River let out a broken laugh. Jace finally smiled. We broke them. Ash nodded slowly. No. We reminded them what Oath does when it's got nothing left but hate and a good old-fashioned gun. The wind howled again. But this time, it wasn't Xerix footsteps or fusion blasts. It was just snow. Falling, quietly. And in that cold silence, 3 blood-soaked twinks leaned on each other, victorious. Not because they had better tech. Not because they were stronger. But because they had grit, steel, and an old .50 cal that never stopped singing. Galactic soldiers mocked Earth's old rifles, until they faced a .50 BMG machine gun. Fort Grayson stood in ruins. Half the trench works had collapsed under Xerix artillery. The snow was churned into violet mud, littered with burned corpses, shattered plasma cores, and splintered steel. Every corner reeked of ion and gunpowder. 1,000 Xerix dead. 1 war walker reduced to molten slag. A priest-class war being lying in 2 smoldering halves. And 3 humans still breathing. Ash sat with his back against the crater wall, barrel of the M2HB resting across his lap like a sword in an old legend. The weapon was fused, cooked inside out. beyond repair. But he wouldn't let it go. River lay nearby, bandaged with salvaged armor cloth, one eye swollen shut, half his body wrapped in bloodstained gauze. Still alive. Barely. Somehow smiling. Jace stood watch at the rim of the trench, M107 slung across his back. His cheekbone was cracked, and one arm hung limp at his side. But his eyes were sharp. Sharp. Always watching the sky. They waited for the final blow. And it never came. ***. Hours passed. Ash didn't sleep. Couldn't. You think they are regrouping? River rasped. Jace shook his head. They are retreating. Bullshit, River coughed. Xerix don't retreat. They do now. Ash finally looked up. We humiliated them. Took their weapons, cracked their walkers, butchered their elite. We made them bleed. River laughed painfully. All with analog rifles. Exactly, Ash said. They weren't ready for us. They didn't understand us. Jace turned, snow dusting his shoulders. We're not done. They'll be back with reinforcements. The next time it'll be fleets. Planetary siege. They won't stop until they gloss everything. Ash leaned forward, his voice low and hard. Then we don't wait. River blinked. You're saying we hit back? Ash nodded. Jace smiled, faint and dangerous. I like that idea. ***. The old bunker hadn't been opened in over 20 years. Buried beneath the cliff behind the trench, hidden by decades of snowdrifts and forgotten war records, it had once stored America's contingency weapons. Off-the-books relics. Things too heavy, too volatile, too dirty to risk deploying. Ash kicked in the rusted hatch. A hiss of stale air leaked out. Inside was a cold-lit tomb of destruction. Stacks of Mark 77 thermobarracks, old Sabo tank rounds, a rack of MAN-PADs, and a line of aging but intact shoulder-fired missile systems. Next to them, a crate marked Experimental Retrotech. Do not deploy. River pried it open. Inside sat something beautiful and terrible, a railgun turret mounted on a bipod, patched with carbon mesh and old American steel. Next to it, a dozen rounds, glowing faint blue in their casings. Ash looked at it like it was a religious icon. We install this on the ridge. Jace whistled low. That'll punch holes through a destroyer hull. River grinned. I'll carry it myself. No you won't, Ash said. You're barely standing. River shrugged. I'll crawl. ***. They spent the next 4 hours fortifying what was left of the hill. Jace set up a sniper blind just under the ridgeline, the M107 fitted with custom BMG rounds tipped with depleted uranium. Ash rigged the railgun into a makeshift bunker of sandbags, crush plates, and a salvaged plasma shield. River loaded the MAN-PADs into a launch grid near the trench mouth. It wasn't a base. It was a killing ground. A message. ***. They picked up the signal just before dawn. An encrypted Xerix broadcast, likely meant for their orbiting dreadnoughts. Jace intercepted it, rerouted the carrier band, and played the raw transmission aloud through the trench-busted comm system. A chorus of alien voices buzzed across the line. Fort Grayson has resisted all waves. Casualties at 94%. Priest class lost. Warwalker lost. High Command advises orbital annihilation. Tactical retreat recommended until human anomaly is classified and neutralized. Ash let the message finish. Then said nothing. He just loaded another railgun shell. ***. When the Xerix dreadnought broke atmosphere, it blacked out the southern horizon. Over a mile long. Covered in plasma turrets, grave cannons, and hull-wide energy shields. It looked like the end of time. River exhaled. Guess they are not taking any chances now. Jace eyed it through the scope. No drop pods. They are not here to fight, Ash said. They are here to delete. As the dreadnought hovered in the upper sky, a shimmering charge began to build along its center, a focused orbital strike. The kind used to wipe cities off the map. They had maybe 3 minutes. Ash took one last look at his brothers. No speeches. No fear. Just a nod. Jace slipped into the sniper perch. River grunted as he hauled himself behind the missile rack. Ash stood alone at the railgun, spine straight, eyes cold. Then the ground lit up. ***. The railgun fired first. The sound was thunder pulled inside out, a pulse of magnetic hell launching a uranium shell at Mach 6. It ripped through the air, a comet of vengeance, and slammed into the dreadnought's shielding array mid-charge. Boom! The sky shook. The shield cracked, fractured, then overloaded, imploding in a bloom of unstable energy. Jace fired next. His round hit the dreadnought's lower turret cluster. A cascade of secondary explosions followed, Chin reacting down the ship's hull, like fire racing through fuel lines. Then River launched everything. MANPADs screamed upward. A dozen trails of smoke arced into the sky. Several were shot down, but enough made it. They hit the midsection. Detonations lit up the belly of the beast. Plasma cells ruptured. The dreadnought listed. Began to fall. Screaming fire across the sky. Asterisk. It hit the mountains 20 miles east. The explosion turned the horizon into a wall of flame. The shockwave arrived seconds later, ripping over the hill, flattening snow, bending trees sideways. But the bunker held. Ash stood, jaw tight. The sky was dark again. Clear. Silent. No more Xerix. Asterisk. The world stayed quiet for a long time. Until a voice crackled over the long-range comm unit. Fort Grayson. This is UNSC Patrol Ship Raleigh. We picked up your signal and visual on the dreadnought. Can anyone respond? Ash picked up the MIC. This is Sergeant Ash Vance, 3rd Earth Militia. Fort Grayson is secure. Silence. Then, Jesus Christ. We thought everyone out there was dead. How many survivors? Ash looked around. River had passed out, head slumped sideways, but breathing. Jace stood next to the railgun, staring at the smoke trails. Ash keyed the MIC. 3. You held off the Xerix with 3 men. Ash nodded, voice hard. 3 twinks with old guns. Another long silence. Then, evac is en route. Command wants to debrief you. And maybe, recruit you. Ash chuckled softly. Tell Command to bring whiskey. Asterisk. When the evac shuttle arrived 2 hours later, it touched down in a crater filled with broken bones, burned weapons, and history. Ash, River, and Jay stood side by side, back straight. No medals. No parades. Just blood on their sleeves and fire in their eyes. As they boarded, Ash looked back once. At the trench. The bunker. The fallen .50 cal. Then he turned. Let's go show the rest of the galaxy what Earth's rifles can do. Galactic soldiers mocked Earth's old rifles, until they faced the .50 BMG machine gun. They called it Operation Backblast. But the soldiers who fought it just called it what it was, payback. Earth had taken its beatings. Cities glassed. Colonies wiped clean. Fort Grayson burned half into the ice. And yet, the Xerix Empire had retreated. Limping. Dazed. Afraid of ghosts. Of 3 humans who wouldn't die. Of a .50 BMG that wouldn't stop singing. They thought it was over. But Earth doesn't do surrender. Ash Vance, River Knox, and Jace Hale boarded the drop cruiser Judgment 13 days after the fall of Grayson. No fanfare. No medals. Just a classified clearance and crates of old weapons Earth had stopped trusting 100 years ago. Jace opened the first crate and whistled. Now that's nostalgia. Inside sat M240S, SMAWs, and sawed-off Ithaka shotguns stamped 1965. Ash ran a hand over the steel. No plasma. No smart link. Just powder, steel, and pain. River grabbed a belt of grenades and smiled through broken teeth. Let's start a war. Asterisk. Their first target was Xerix Forward Command Sigma, a crystalline spire embedded in a floating asteroid belt near the collapsed star of Nevis 7. The Xerix believed it untouchable, surrounded by autonomous laser webs, plasma shield pylons, and a fleet of sentry drones. Judgment dropped them in through the orbital blind spot created by the destruction of their dreadnought. A fracture in their perfect grid, left by the 3 who'd survived the impossible. Ash, Jace, and River touched down inside a maintenance tunnel. No backup. No intel. Just rage and iron. Asterisk. They didn't sneak. They stormed. Jace kicked in the first security door with a shotgun blast, then dropped the guard with a 7.62 round to the face. Ash cleared the hallway with his Colt M45, 4 rounds, 4 kills. The 5th he punched with the barrel until the Xerix stopped screaming. River tossed 2 frags into the drone bay, then leapt through the smoke and unloaded the SMAW rocket into the shield core. The explosion blew a hole clean through 5 stories of alien ally. Alarm screamed. Too late. The humans were already inside. Asterisk asterisk. Xerix security converged in waves, Sylvie armored enforcers wielding plasma halberds and neuroblasters. They were precise, elegant, cold. Ash's crew was not. Jace sniped through walls. River dragged a dead Xerix's plasma cannon like a belt-fed god of war. Ash dual-wielded 2 old MAC-10s he'd found in a crate marked Miami, 1982, laughing as the bullets carved chaos through the ranks. They fight like animals. They don't reload, they just scream and shoot. They don't use cover. Exactly. Because they weren't soldiers anymore. They were vengeance. Asterisk asterisk. By the time the trio reached Command Sigma's data core, over 200 Xerix were dead. The spire trembled. Fires raged through corridors once untouched by war. Jace jammed a spike drive into the mainframe and uploaded a custom payload, coordinates of every Xerix fleet, every world, every orbiting weapon. He looked at Ash. It's done. River lit a thermite charge and slapped it on the core. Ash stared into the mirrored alloy of the control room, eyes wild. Then spoke low, "You burned Earth. Now Earth burns you." Boom. The charge tore the spire in half. They leapt out the breach in the side wall, grappling into judgment as it banked underneath. Behind them, Command Sigma collapsed, shattering into asteroid shards and frozen Xerix corpses. Asterisk asterisk. Word spread fast. The Xerix had been hit where they were strongest. Not by fleets. Not by superweapons. But by 3 angry humans with World War relics and stolen grenades. Other Earth units began to copy them. No more coordinated fleet battles. Now it was trench raids, shotgun ambushes, guerrilla bunkers built from scrap and old MRE crates. Mars resistance squads wielded M1 Garans and retooled Hums with miniguns on the roof. Luna's children marched into fire with flak jackets stitched from their parents' uniforms. Across the galaxy, the Xerix heard a new name whispered in fear. The Twink Reclaimants. Not a formal unit. A myth. A virus of rage in human form. Led by 3 who refused to die. Their next target was Xerix Prime, the capital world. A planet of citadels and crystalline data stacks, orbiting twin suns, protected by 3 planetary defense grids, and an elite core of Black Talon Xerix, gene-forged assassins bred to kill anything carbon-based. Judgment dropped low through the dead zone carved by prior attacks. Thousands of Earth lives had been lost trying to reach Prime surface. But Ash didn't plan on surviving. Just ending it. They hit the grid Atmo node first. Ash and Jace dropped through the exosphere in carbon pods, slamming into the defense control tower like tungsten bullets. Jace burst from his pod and opened fire mid-air, .50 BMGs slamming through towers. Ash landed in a roll and cut a Black Talon in half with a pump-action slug, defenses offline. River dropped 10 seconds later with a gravity glider strapped to his back, and a flamethrower stolen from a Xerix prison mine. He lit the gardens of Xerix Prime on fire and didn't stop until the palace was glowing. The Black Talons converged, 20 of them, moving in perfect sync, blades humming, armor shifting like liquid glass. Jace went prone behind a smoking corpse pile, calm as always. He fired once, headshot. Fired again, gut punch. Fired a 3rd time, hit a blade mid-swing and knocked it into the Talon behind. River barreled through the flanks, hurling fire and screaming obscenities. Ash went forward with a trench knife and an M1 carbine. Eyes red, blood pouring from a gash in his neck. He didn't parry. He didn't block. He bit one of them in the throat and ripped the blade from its hand to kill the next. At the center of Xerix Prime was a singularity core, the hub of their command lattice. No one had ever reached it. Until now, they kicked in the chamber doors with boots caked in alien blood. Ash limped forward. Inside was the Xerix High Imperator, 12 feet tall, wrapped in translucent robes, voice like distant thunder. "You are meat. Chaos. Inefficiency. We are order. You cannot win." Ash raised the M2HB, rebuilt, reforged from the wreckage at Grayson. He stared the alien god in the eyes. Funny thing about order, he said. It dies just like anything else. He pulled the trigger. The .50 BMGs roared, the Imperator's head exploded, and the Zurich's empire, built over 10,000 years, started collapsing from the top down. Jace detonated the core with 2 EMP charges and a slab of plastic explosives he'd carved into the words for Grayson. River sprayed the exit with fire. They walked out under a sky filled with fire and screaming. Not as heroes. As destroyers, Earth didn't win the war with clean shots or sleek ships. It won with rusted barrels, broken ribs, and the kind of fury you only get from watching your world die and refusing to join it. Ash, Jace, and River vanished after that. No one knows where they went. Some say they were picked up by Black Ops ships and live as ghosts, dropping into hot zones when a colony calls for help and the comms go silent. Some say they died laughing on the edge of Zurich space, blowing up one last dreadnought with dynamite and punk rock blasting on a cassette player. But the Zurichs? They never returned. Because they remember. They remember what happened when they mocked Earth's old rifles. And they remember the boys who reminded them. Twinks don't run. They reload. And when Earth goes quiet, it's just reloading.